Hello everybody, welcome to Meteorology Lab. Good to have everybody back. Sorry we were a little bit late. Since this is a one-man studio for the most part, if we're late, just be patient. If the webcast says we have an 8 o'clock schedule, then we will be on, and if not, I'll usually send a Twitter statement or take down the start time. So anyway, not to worry. If it gets to 8:05 and there's no show, then that might indicate a problem. All right, so we don't have a whole lot of weather going on in Texas. The little bit of moisture coming northward. And let's head to the maps and start seeing what's going on down there. And yeah, thanks to VLC Video Player, I was at least able to get that going there. So anyway, we're done with that. Let's take a look at the map. Pretty quiet scenario because we are getting into the warm season, so we're seeing a little bit less dynamic action on the charts. We do have another blob of cold air coming southward, coming through the Dakotas into Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan there. Got some mild air out across Texas, but for the most part we're still under the influence of this high pressure area, some north winds coming down still. However, we can see the start of, where's my cursor? There we go. Nope, okay. Anyway, yeah, we're getting a little bit of a southeast flow starting in the Rio Grande area. And let's check out that moisture. We'll go to the mixing ratio. And this is actually analyzed data. This is not model data. And we can see that there is some residual moisture across the Gulf Coast states, and the better moisture is lurking just to the south. You just have to go down into Mexico to find it. Okay, onward to the normal charts. Let me stop our opening music, so just to make sure that's not interfering with anything. All right, and whoop. Let me get the maps rearranged, and I think we'll be set to go. Okay, so anyway, here's our SPC mesoscale analysis. We'll take a few surface plots and see what's going on there. You can see some fairly mild weather across all the country, and even way up north where things are usually pretty cold, we've actually got temperatures above 50 in that region. Let me bring up my zoom tool. I had to restart the computer, so let me get all that going here. We're just having technical problems all the way around. Even my little Zoom program seems to be acting kind of funny here. Okay, there we go. All right, shall we continue? Let's do that. All right, so there's the cold air coming in from Minnesota, and we can see that in the western U.S. things are very warm. We were talking about that big ridge out to the west. Temperatures around 95 there at Casa Grande, Arizona, 100 again in the Needles area, and even up in the cold, normally cold deserts during the cold season, we've got temperatures up near 80 up in that region. So that's kind of the general picture, and then we also take a look at the upper air chart. So there's this is the 250 millibar analysis. We can see up north, this is the polar front jet, bringing some of that cold air down. But down to the south, we can see the appearance of the subtropical jet. It's lurking down there in South Texas. Let's take a sample of that looking at the SCUTs. Go all the way down to Brownsville and check things out. And this sounding is not available, so we'll go to this morning's soundings. Okay, and there's our plot there from Brownsville from 12Z. Looks like a bit of a loaded gun sounding. See a very strong cap there. Temperatures well up above 10C. between 800 and 700 millibars there. And we can see aloft the stronger winds. 85 knots there at about 160 millibars. That's the subtropical jet, and you can see that that's very high up. Typically our polar front jet is found way down here, around 300 millibars, sometimes 250. A lot of times what we'll do is we'll take 250 to kind of split the difference between all of these different jets. In fact, let me go and draw them out. This is going to be the polar front jet in summer. So I'm going to put P sub S there. And then this is where we find it during the winter. So I'll do P sub W. And then the subtropical jet. I'll put ST for that one. So this is the regime where we find those jets. 250 gives us a pretty good sample of all of them. 300 is a little bit low, but you can see that chart is perfect in the wintertime for that polar front jet. And then at 200 millibars, we use that. That's up at about 40,000 feet. We use that in the summertime to find both of the jets. So anyway, that's a little look at the upper air data. And you can see that stronger subtropical flow is pretty shallow. You go all the way down to 200 millibars, we drop to 50 knots. And then looks like beneath that we pick up some 70 knot action. So this one has a little bit of depth. We'll go up to Corpus Christi. And there we can see the subtropical jet a little bit better. The peak of that appears to be up at 160 millibars. This is way up there. That's going to be about 46,000 feet. So that's way up above the level that jets usually fly at, which is kind of in this regime right here. So this is a very high level feature. And then we can see as we go down to 300 millibars, it drops off. And in fact, you go just below there and we'd fall off to 55 knots. So you really have to go up to these high levels to pick up the subtropical jet. The moisture is lurking down there. Got 40s and 50s dew points, and it looked much better there at Brownsville. That's good moisture there. Dew point temperatures around 64 at the surface, low 60s up to about 2,000 feet, then 50s above that. The convective temperature down there in Brownsville, let's take a look at that. Why not? I'm going to take a mixed layer of about 150 millibars, bring that up to mixing ratio to the temperature line, and then go down diadiabatically. That gives me a convective temperature there of about 102 Fahrenheit. So if we got up to about 102, we'd very likely get convection there. The actual convective temperature is usually a little bit lower. So I might shave off about 3 or 4 degrees. Maybe call that about 98 to 97 Fahrenheit. That's what we would need to get thunderstorms realistically. And the reason I go lower is because there may be a boundary lurking out there somewhere that would help overcome that. And also there could be variability in the upper level data. This is just one little sample across Texas. Okay, so there's a little look at SCU-T data. Let's head into our usual charts. The thickness and isobars looking like this evening. There's that blob of cold air up to the north. It's definitely very cold in the Hudson Bay area. Looks like, let's see here. Looks like maybe a weak front down in Baja California. I'll have to look more at the data there, but I think a lot of this area is underneath a ridge. And this little gradient right here, this is associated with that old polar front that moved down into the Gulf and is kind of dissipating out there over the warmer waters. So there's not much going on in the Great Plains this evening. Let's do region by region because we may have some changes over the weekend. Southern Plains looking like this evening. This is right around lunchtime there, and we can see the high pressure covering Texas, some north wind, and let's run that forward. We cool down tonight. You see the shading change from red to yellow, and then by morning, high pressure So it's going to be kind of a cool evening, temperatures in the 50s across much of Texas. We see a front coming in from the north. This is the next outbreak tomorrow morning coming into Oklahoma. And it looks like it stalls out in Oklahoma and northern Arkansas. And here it looks like it's turning around to a warm front. If we had a little bit more moisture, this would be a good area for convection. And then going into late Saturday and Sunday, we now have south flow, and we're probably starting to bring up moisture from the Gulf. Through Sunday, continued south flow. The winds are strengthening, especially out in the Midland, Lubbock area. So we're almost certainly bringing up that moisture. And you can see that around 11 a.m. on Sunday, temperatures are kind of cool in the San Antonio area and even the hill country. This is the delayed heating with all that stratus and stratocumulus in that area. So we've probably got a cloud field associated with the moisture return, maybe a weak low-level jet starting up. And then we'll roll that forward. Ooh, look at that convection going up on the high plains. This is on late Sunday. Let me back that up. Looks like our cells start up around La Junta, around Raton, and around Tucumcari. So this is a very high level, high elevation stuff. This is along the western fringes of the moisture return, and they're probably going to be kind of high-based, possibly dew points in the low 50s, I would say low to mid 50s there. So you can see those going up, and they put out some very nice cold pools. It's amazing the kind of small-scale detail we get with these models. I mean, we didn't have this 20 years ago. So there's that coalescing cold pool advancing eastward into the panhandles. And I suspect a lot of this convection is diurnal, probably starts dissipating, and it leaves that cold pool in place. So if this trend continues over the next several days, those cold pools are things we're going to have to watch overnight, because that can really modulate the kind of thunderstorm development we have the following day. Okay, so yeah, some interesting things to look at. Let's take a quick look at the central plains. We're going to see that cold front coming southward. And then Saturday it stalls out in Oklahoma. Flow coming around to the south. So very good thermal contrast in this area here. We call this a warm front because you can see the prevailing flow across the front is south to north. So that's advecting warm air from south to north. So that's a warm front. And looks like it's fairly stationary by early Sunday. It's kind of in this area right here. And we're starting to bring that moisture up to the high plains, and we're about to see the thunderstorms firing off Sunday. See how those temperatures come up real warm there at La Junta 84. And then we get the storms going up. So it looks like Baca County and Clayton, Tucumcari, those are all probably good places for some photographs. Okay, so yeah, we're starting to get into spring finally. Let me check in on chat, and I'll give you the visible satellite imagery. What do we see here, by the way? Let me drop a few of these frames. I like dropping the last 4 frames or so we don't have dark images in there. Looks like we got a subtropical jet right here. That would indicate probably something like that right there. So that can be a factor on storm days down south where the dry line extends into that subtropical jet region. We can see increased shear, good anvil level storm relative shear. So we can certainly get some good hailers in this region. In fact, this time of the year is a very important time for the Del Rio area. They tend to get storms forming on the Sierra del Burro range in this region. Those are some big supercells that get going. Typically, those start up in late March, but we have kind of an unusual year, so we may start to see some of that perhaps over the next couple weeks as we normalize our pattern and get back into real spring weather. Elsewhere, looks like we have some instability in the Rockies. Look at that, lots of broken to overcast clouds. So it appears we've had some moisture work its way up into this region. And other than that, we can see a storm rotating off the coast. Looks like a little upper level low in this area. And likewise, instability out ahead of that. Lots of cumuliform clouds, and last night we saw some decent anvils near the Lake Tahoe area. Okay, let me see how things are in chat. There was probably a little bit of a panic earlier when I didn't show up. Okay, let's see. Ron Chalfant, Southern California, 60 in Crestline. That's north of Riverside. Nice spring day. Got David Lumbert here. 4 years ago, a rain-wrapped tornado touchdown in northwest Pulaski County, Arkansas. That's where Little Rock is. So that would be... yeah, that would be pretty much northwest of Little Rock. 725 staying down into 924. Follow Truth is here. 65 there in Northern California. Electric Dog. Willie Greenway in Georgia. Carl Berghoff. Mike Estwick. Denver, 71 degrees. Yeah, it's pretty warm out in that Rocky Mountain region. 41 degrees in northeast Illinois, out around the Chicago area. We have Fun with Tech here. Burl H. reporting 62 in Iowa City. Alexi Pinkson Walsh. David Moore. Minnesota, I think that's Minnesota Medic Joe. Welcome to the webcast. 48 in Minneapolis. Adam Davis getting some thunder in Clarion, Pennsylvania, which is north of Pittsburgh. Ron Chalfant reminds everybody to hit the like button. Much appreciated. Victor Cabot is here. Megan John in Minnesota. 47 degrees, light sporadic showers. Mike Estwick watching the Storm Riders, Tuscaloosa. Kathy Vanasse, 89 in Zion. Very dry. Carl Berghoff says remember to like. And Mike Estwick, I appreciate the mention of the books. Christian Flock looking for severe weather next week. And yeah, the Patreon coffee can, yeah, that's definitely appreciated. I don't think I have my Patreon slides up. I need to get that fixed. I moved my computer a couple of months ago, or a couple weeks ago. So I'm trying to get all that put back together. Dustin Knight, looking forward to seeing some of you guys next week, and Mike Estwick waiting on his autograph book. Okay, let's head into the rest of the charts, and we'll start looking at next week. So this is a last look at this evening, water vapor imagery, showing some dry conditions down there in Louisiana. Let's take a look at that area. It's kind of fun to look at. In fact, let's compare Slidell with Corpus Christi. You can see the water vapor signatures are much different. Corpus Christi in the moist air is looking like this here. And we're going to focus on that upper level there. Plenty of moisture. Looks like dew points run from about teens Fahrenheit to below zero, like 0 to minus 10. That's pretty moist for the mid-levels. And let's compare that to Louisiana, where it's dry. Well, a little bit of moisture showing up, but yeah, there is definitely drier air. Oh, this is 12Z. I was thinking there shouldn't be that much moisture in that sounding. Okay, that looks a little bit better. Pretty dry. And compare that to Corpus Christi this evening. Oh yeah, we've really moistened up the layer above 450 millibars. That's about 21,000 feet there. So water vapor imagery, sensitive to the upper levels. Do not use it to detect low-level moisture. You want to use your METAR data for that. Okay, for our area in Texas, we'll just do a quick run through. High-resolution rapid refresh shows a quiet night. Storms down in Mexico, where we have orographics and tropical moisture. But other than that, pretty quiet. You can see the return flow trying to get started up in the Rio Grande area. For the medium term, let's look at the upper level chart. This is the NAM. And we can see that big ridge out over the Rockies, keeping things warm in that area. Let me see if I can bring up a temperature anomaly chart so we can kind of visualize that. I don't think we have an anomaly product. Let me just do this real quick. All right, let's see. We're going to go to surface, temperature anomaly. Okay. Sorry, this could lag the stream just briefly, but it is finished loading. So this is a map showing the departure of the temperatures from normal. So we're a little bit cool in Texas, especially in the higher terrain in this area here. But out west, very warm, especially in Idaho and western or eastern British Columbia. So how does that relate to the upper air pattern? There's our ridging. So actually the warm air is what's contributing to that ridge, because it's basically a function of your density in the layers below this. So we have very low density air, and as a result we have higher heights and higher pressures aloft. Okay, let's roll this forward. Looks like a pretty strong shortwave off the coast of Louisiana. That'll be heading for Florida. Let me see if I can shrink this a little bit. I want to try to get all of that on the screen. I guess that's about all we can do there. So there goes that shortwave there heading for Florida. That's around midnight, so it appears that'll be going over during the convective minima. And it's actually the area out ahead of it that's important. So that should go through pretty silently in that area, maybe just some clouds and a bit of scattered showers. Meanwhile, that ridge progresses to the east. So that'll be moving across the plains, very warm in the Denver area for Saturday. Sorry about that. And then going into Sunday, big upper level trough moving onshore. And we can see a couple of short waves rotating around that. Here comes another one. And all of this is moving towards the Great Plains. So as we come underneath the cyclonic flow, that's when the weather is going to start going downhill. So that's going to be starting around Monday. And when we get the increased strong flow perpendicular to the Rockies like this, that's going to get the lee side trough going. So that's going to be in this area right here. So by Monday, we're going to see pressure falls out in this area, and that helps couple with the southerly gradient to really start bringing that moisture northward. So this pattern here with ridging, that's not conducive to moisture return. You can see that the stronger flow is shunted way up to the north. Weak flow in the Denver area, weak lee side troughing, and so the return flow is weak. Okay, for next week, we can see things get active Monday, and then we have this big short wave digging into the southwest Monday through Yeah, that's coming out into the high plains on Monday. So we may have a shot that day. Thunderstorms in that region. And then you can see we have another large wave rotating around the trough. And that's going to get into the plains probably around Wednesday. So I don't really have any maps after that, but we do have the GFS. I just don't think I have the upper level chart. Let me just take a quick look. Oh yeah, we do. Okay, yeah, let's watch this wave. There it is. This is Tuesday, midday. Meanwhile, on the plains, there's actually a flat ridge right there. So that's helping to build some of the 700 millibar temperatures a bit, help to strengthen the cap a bit. That in conjunction with this ridge that's been over the plains over the weekend. So we should have kind of a loaded gun sounding for that time. Then Wednesday morning is going to look like this. Ridge departing the South Plains, and here comes the arrival of cyclonic flow, strong jet stream energy. And using our basic rule of thumb, we find the baroclinic low at that inflection point between the transition between cyclonic and anticyclonic flow underneath the jet max. So Wednesday morning looks like we're going to have a surface front somewhere in this area right here. Here comes that strong upper level trough. Looks like that shot of upper level energy is here around midday Monday. And then it moves up into the panhandle for evening. This is phased really, really well with heating. So this is probably going to kick off some severe weather. That's going to be probably our big day. And then, of course, the day before the dynamics, Tuesday, when it's May, the day before the dynamics often is the big surprise there. So Tuesday and Wednesday are the main days I'm watching there. Then for Thursday, it's looking like this. It looks like we're under this flat ridging. There's a short wave out to the west there. So I'm not too sure if anything's going to be happening Thursday. Obviously, there's not much help from the upper levels. Then by Friday, it's looking like this here. Looks like a departing ridge. This is approaching, so it looks like we're going to get kind of in the active area between the waves. So I think Friday could touch off some more thunderstorms there, but that'll be probably far south where these specks are being indicated. Up north, we're pretty good shortwave there, but we'll have to see how much moisture can make it back up into that region. All right, let's see. Let's head into the surface chart. And I think I'm going to look at this theta E. This is a measure of buoyancy, assuming the upper level conditions are all the same. Buoyancy and CAPE are going to be tied to the theta E. So this is kind of a measure of warm air advection or just warm air in general, and moisture especially. So we can kind of use this to track the moisture return. So you can see, yeah, there is some moisture in the Rockies itself. Also, some of this is heating, of course. So this is what's helping to give some of the showers in that area. And then we get our moisture return coming up Monday and Tuesday. Looks like initially the best theta E is in the panhandles. And then let's check it out for Tuesday. Best theta E is just off the Cap Rock. So for there, we're going to watch maybe Clinton, Woodward, Wichita Falls, and Abilene. Wednesday, theta E at midday looks like this. So kind of the same area there, but you can see the dynamics are tightening up quite a bit. And by evening, it's looking like this. It looks like an active dry line moving into the Altus, Clinton, Vernon, Frederick area. And just looking at this, just looking at the wind flow, very good convergence in this area. That's kind of where the bulge of the dry line is. So Oklahoma looking very interesting. And then there could be other storms further down the dry line. Heading into Thursday, this is a little more uncertain, but it appears there's still plenty of theta E, so probably a round of more thunderstorms closer to I-35, Oklahoma City, Norman, Ardmore, Fort Worth, and Stephenville. That appears to be the potential area for Thursday, and it's going to come down to boundaries especially. Then for Friday, looks like the moisture has been kind of eroded through this area here. Probably outflow boundaries affecting that region. And then this area here probably looks best where that higher theta E impinges on that boundary. So there, Junction, Kerrville, and Ozona. It's a very strange part of Texas, very desolate. Once you get west of Junction there, it's kind of like the last frontier. Do we need to put it together? I don't know. I guess I can show you the precip it breaks out. So let me show you that. There it is. There's the Gfs Precip. Roll this all the way up to Monday. Let me take a look Sunday. I think Sunday we had a few showers going up in the high plains. Yeah, there they are. Looks like the GFS going a little bit further east. Then for Monday, you can see strong southerly flow coming up northward. And storms going up, looks like around the Amarillo area. Then for Tuesday, GFS putting them in western Oklahoma, just very light activity. We're probably going to have a little bit more than that. And then on Thursday, or Wednesday, yeah, pretty much matches up with that area we talked about. So definitely a precipitation, and here we can see the front approaching from the west. So there's our thickness gradient. And then I think there's a front up north like this. And we've probably got like a secondary warm front here as a result of outflow pools and just kind of the general pattern. We tend to see that a lot, like a secondary boundary developing near the Red River. I need to look more into that. I think there must be some mechanism behind that. So we'll check that out as we get closer. Then for Thursday, looks like I-35 action. There it is right there. Looks like we still got the moisture coming up north. So yeah, we've got at least a few days of thunderstorms. And then Friday, yep, hill country. Then we've got this high moving in. That's going to build across, and we're going to have, I guess, a quiet weekend. Maybe some storms down there in the I-10 area, but yeah, this is bad for people who can't get time off from work to chase. Anyway, another cold front coming south for Sunday the 6th. And there it is. But this is kind of a weak front. This is more typical of this time of year. That's heading mostly towards the northeast there. And then looks like we get into a more active pattern again in the high plains, some upslope flow starting around maybe Sunday into Monday. And let's see how things look later in the week. Tuesday looks active. Wednesday looks like it's going to depend where the outflow is, but look, this has the appearance of ridging affecting the area. Let me check that out. The 9th. Yep, there's the 9th ridge affecting the southern plains. So this whole area will be under subsident flow. And let me just give you the sounding so you can see what that looks like. Well, the capping is not too strong. But let's see here. I don't know, there's probably, it depends how much capping there is. If it's that weak, we'll probably have a chance for convection. But dynamically, there's not going to be a bunch of help there. So basically, this is showing us that the atmosphere, if anything, will tend to strengthen the cap and promote subsident motion. But that's not to say we can't have buoyant energy and weak cap beneath that. Then let's see, heading for the rest into the rest of the week. Yep, looks kind of active there in Kansas. Warm front up in that region, 10th and 11th. And then more cyclonic flow approaching to the west. This is west-east ridge, ridge west and ridge east. And that gets us into an active pattern there. So looks like around, yeah, the 10th, 11th, 12th things will start getting active once again, it appears. So anyway, we got some severe weather to look at, and we'll cover this in much more detail Sunday. And tomorrow we'll have a break. Before I go, let me just give you the Supercell composite parameter. You can just see what the model's going for as far as supercell potential. Running this through the weekend. There's Sunday. So that those values are, they're up there in the threshold range, about 4 or 5. Looking a little bit better on Monday. There's Tuesday. This is nailing pretty well the areas we talked about. So this is kind of showing that we have consistency in our picture of what's going to happen. For Wednesday, it's looking like this. So yeah, we're focusing on the Wichita Falls area, western Oklahoma. Then for Thursday, looks a little bit weaker, so we're losing probably moisture. And then for Friday, looks even weaker. And even in the hill country, things, or supercell composite is not very good. Let's pull out a sounding there real quick. 18Z. I just want to see what it shows. Try to figure out what's missing. The lapse rates look pretty good there. However, there's it's a very moist pattern. Precipitable water is, where's precipitable water? PW. I know one of you have probably spotted it already. Precipitable water. Oh, 1.27 inches. Okay, so that's, yeah, definitely going up. And the wind, yeah, weak 0 through 1 kilometer shear. Slightly depressed flow aloft. Lethargic. And yeah, that's pretty much it right there. We just don't have anything overwhelmingly suggesting a loaded gun sounding and high instability and that kind of thing. So let's head into the rest of the sequence. The weekend looking pretty good there. 5th and 6th. Then the 7th. 8th. Oh yeah, this looks pretty good. This is on Wednesday night on the 9th. So maybe a bit of severe weather. And then this is more indicative of upslope flow developing, maybe a warm front situation. Those are some high values, so maybe we'll see some tornadoes on the 10th, Thursday. And then same situation around the Beekleman area. Looks like probably a good time to get a hotel room for that time on the calendar in Garden City. Not Garden City, what's that other city up to the north? Goodland. So anyway, that's how it looks. Let me just check chat, see if anybody's got any comments. Yeah, a lot of stuff in here. I'll probably have to read this after I get off the webcast. People ordering books. Oh yeah, I wanted to mention a couple of you have asked about how to get an autograph on the book. I talked with Shannon, and what we're going to do is when you fill out the order form and put in your shipping address, on your name, after your name, write sign in capital letters, SIGN. So that'll alert us to have that sign for you. So that'll pretty much guarantee it. So that's how to do that. Put sign after your name in the shipping address. And we'll try to put something on the website about that. Gust front moving through Pittsburgh early this evening. Andrew Hotchkiss. Ryan Toomey is a little bit late, but glad you made it in. Weather Channel talking about super outbreak. Mike Estwick there. Tornado reported Coral Springs. F0 damage. And Barron ThreatNet and RadarScope worked 100%. Ryan Toomey's very good. Barron, very good product. They have commercial division for business ops. I guess we should have somebody from Barron on sometime this summer. I've been thinking about doing some interesting stuff with the webcast and bringing some guests on. I was going to do that actually about a year ago, but I got sidetracked by some book work, and I went offline for, I think, a couple months there. Doppler S-band, that's interesting. I'll have to find out how to get that. RadarScope Pro has access to them. Interesting. And, Ryan, do you know where those radar sites are? Are they just in Florida, or are there other areas around the country that have that? Alexei says, don't forget to hit the like button. Thomas Fortner's here. And Carl Berghoff. Willie Greenway says, sign mine, please. You have to put the sign after you... Oh, if this is an order you placed, I'll make a note. I'll do that after the... No, I'm going to do that now so I don't forget. Willie Greenway... Okay, as long as that hasn't gone out, we'll try to get that done. Okay, I think that's about all I have for tonight. I appreciate you joining the webcast. We will be back Sunday, and we'll talk about this round of severe weather coming up. And if you have any questions, you can save that for Sunday, and we'll try to go through them. All right, have a good evening, everybody, and a good weekend. Take care.